Are you ready? Are you ready to pot it up?
Let's go. Let's have fun. Peatcast it.
This is the Simply Youth Ministry Podcast with Doug Fields,
I think it's going to be a four-shoulder touch.
Matt McGill,
Nothing says loving like a muffin.
Josh Griffin,
The internet is a hotbed of activity.
and Jana Sardi.
Podcast.
The show starts now.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Simply Youth Ministry Podcast. You're in December.
Simply the greatest. Simply.
Well,
Youth
Matt and I are
Ministry
pretty
podcast.
fired up for this. Matt has actually got me fired up for this. Doug Fields here with my friend Matt McGill. We are minus our two regulars. And
Do we need a moment of silence? I mean, they have to be dead, right?
no, they just have to be. Jana's sick. Let's
Why
just
else
go
wouldn't
through.
they be here? For the
Sick.
reason.
Her husband had a funny Twitter yesterday about throwing
Yeah?
up in all the toilets. He decided he's calling it going for the cycle. That he threw up in all the toilets. That only makes sense if you're a baseball fan.
Right.
So Jana is out. She missed our Simply
She's
Youth
throwing
Ministry.
up in those same said toilets.
Yep, she missed our youth ministry lunch today at the Cheesecake
Okay.
Factory. And Josh, last minute Josh, sent me an email today.
Griff. Well, his boss.
Remembering he had a trip to L.A.
Yeah, they got a Christmas party.
Christmas party in L.A. So Josh isn't there, and I
Here.
said to Matt, I sent Matt an email saying, Matt, it's you and me, baby.
Exactly.
And Matt got more excited.
This is the best. This will be the greatest podcast that's ever been casted by
Well,
us.
we're doing something different for those of you that are watching the show. Is we're trying the live show where I'm going to occasionally look at some of the live show going on to see if there's anything in here. Like Rooster Ruse said,
It's going to be really hard for me not to look at that.
I know. Well, Rooster Ruse says, I'm not sure I want Doug seeing what I say about him.
Well, don't.
But here's what
some
nobody knows
integrity.
that Matt and I did ahead of time is Matt, for our team that knows this, we're probably going to have some new viewers today because
Right.
we have kind of created a little bit of podcast buzz with you tweeting that it's going to be the greatest,
Yeah.
and then me retweeting it, and then you retweeting my tweet.
Yes.
But the buzz was, or the bet is, if Matt touches his phone anywhere during the podcast, he has to give me this $40 gift certificate to Microsoft Store.
Right. Right.
And
Which I got because it's my birthday.
it was your birthday yesterday.
Yes.
And happy birthday. It was
Thank
my
you.
daughter's birthday the day before, 21 years old.
Yep.
And so
she's
anyway,
drinking tonight. Huh?
happy birthday. No, she still got finals.
Oh, okay.
Still got finals.
Couple
She
more days
said
then.
she said on Friday she might order something just for the experience of it.
Yes. Have one
But
sip.
she needs to wait till Christmas break because she's a person of integrity and she signed a
Yes.
contract. So anyway,
Oh.
happy birthday.
Thank you.
I also decided, I did this on my own, that when Josh doesn't join us,
Yes.
we don't mention.
Oh.
Oh, this is
What? You? Oh, man!
this is.
You're not supposed to even look at it!
Well, remember I said I was going to look at it
Just for one.
to respond to the Twitter. This is Tori saying,
And so
watching you and Matt live as I finish my paper.
Oh,
The internet
hi,
is
Tori.
the internet is sucky here, so I might turn you guys off soon. Tell Matt happy birthday, and he looks nice today. Good shirt choice by Mish.
Thank you. Thank you.
So anyway,
I just doubled it.
you doubled what?
If you touched your iPhone,
No.
I got...
Here, you remember I got to read one? We said I was going to read one beforehand because this was the deal. Beth's husband
Right?
sent you and me a Twitter.
Which, do you
says,
see how nice it is he's trying to honor his wife?
yeah,
That's great.
yeah. Do you guys know if it's possible to watch the show live on BlackBerry?
Not possible because it's not really a good phone.
Okay. Now,
Right.
let me also say to Tori, if she
Yes.
tries to text me, I now have made a commitment to you that I'm going to turn
yes.
this off. Do I do it
Right.
up here?
I think you hold that down. It's so powerful you really can't turn it off. Am I allowed to touch yours?
No.
Okay.
I should have let you and I'd win.
No.
So anyway, when Josh isn't here, I've decided that I'm going to change his URL to morethandirtball.com.
More than dirtball, that
Yeah.
would be good. That would
Okay.
be good. He doesn't really shower.
We got a bunch of stuff going on,
Yes.
including a new bit that we decided that we would do without Josh and Jana here, which I'm kind of sad they're not here because I like it when they're here. I don't mind it when you're not here
Right?
because Josh is jovial and fun, and
Right, right.
he doesn't cause me a lot of
He
stress.
doesn't. He just says yes. Doesn't question or challenge you or make you think or anything
Yeah.
like that.
Matt Murphy called it morethandirtbag.com.
Dirtbag. He's not really a dirtbag.
No. Hey, if you're a youth worker and I don't follow you on Twitter, what's your at?
What?
See, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able.
The-
The only times you're gonna be able to look down is when I'm talking about something that I think is important,
Okay.
which is almost all the time that I'm talking.
Well,
but you
I
just
know.
did not pay attention to me.
But we came up with a new bit without Josh and Jana.
Right.
And you're excited about the show without them.
I'm very excited about the show without them.
Because you
I've
kind of
always
said to
felt
me,
like they're extra.
you've kind of felt like this is really the dream team.
Right. This is.
Yeah, I don't want to
totally-
feed you your own
No,
lines.
no. This I feel like
Because you can't
they-
recall them.
Oh, is that what you're doing right now? What can we just do a podcast where we have no filters whatsoever?
Not right now. Not before Christmas. Let's wait till the budget's approved.
I was
The
thinking.
budget's approved today. Okay.
I was thinking about that on the way over here. That how great is heaven going to be with no filter? It's going to be great. But here's the thing: is we were talking about this. As soon as I saw those emails from those guys today, I thought it's not going to take away from the podcast even an iota, because it's really you and me. And if we were going to be totally honest, if one of the two of us had to go, it would be you, and
Yeah.
just I would do the podcast.
And when you say if we're honest, you mean
Yeah.
if you're in
No,
your own little
if
phylum
you
and
were
kingdom.
honest, if you were honest too, you know that I make the podcast.
I think you're kind of an extra to the podcast.
think you're right.
You're more of a distraction to me,
Okay,
but
okay,
people,
I
you know, it's like a train wreck or a car wreck. People,
You have to look at it.
Well, they have to, and it's kind of like with you on the show.
Right. Right.
It has a little bit of that element to it. Like,
Right.
okay, I just got to listen to see what.
And the reason why they want to look is because they're stuck in traffic. So it's like what you're saying is the traffic, and I'm like the interesting part.
You don't have to be stuck in traffic to look at an accident.
Pretty much.
No, you
Yeah.
can drive by and go, oh, look, there's nobody in front of me. There's an
Okay,
accident.
Okay.
Hmm.
No, I usually just drive.
Hey, let's do this before we get to. I have the very first email is from
Yes.
Caleb Weaver, and it's titled Matt's Awesomeness. Okay, but
Which is
before
a great way to start the
it is,
show.
it is.
It's
but
perfect.
here's what I want to know is
Yes.
how's the weigh-in going?
Ooh. Okay, I need to weigh in. I weighed in only twice.
But you weighed in to start it.
But I did
2
weigh in
weeks
to start,
ago.
so I got my start. But I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm eating really well. Not as good as I should, but believe it or not, after 2 weeks, I'm actually down a belt size,
A belt size. That's
Which-
good.
which is huge.
That's good. After the
So-
show, I'm sending an email to our over 100 people who were in the I'm a Loser contest, and to keep them going. Anybody in the live show? Mark says he's down 5.5. Nicely done. Nicely
That's
done. Who else?
That's good.
JM Greenhill on our live show says I'm down 4 pounds. Glenn Shell's down 5. Moboy down 6. Oh, I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
S.N. Perry is down 25.
That's got to be a lie.
I don't know if he can be down 25 since it started.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I don't
Oh.
know.
Becky Albertson said, I've lost 25 since being pregnant. Okay, so
Yeah.
here's all I care about on
Yeah.
the weigh-in.
Yes.
You got to beat Josh.
I know,
Okay.
but my problem is I'm not competitive.
Okay, well, I know you said that last
know,
week,
I
but I really
tried
want
that.
you to beat Josh.
Okay.
All right. This is from Caleb Weaver. Caleb says, hey, gang, I'm catching up on the episode, so I watched 115. What are we right
We're
now?
122.
We're 122. I'm catching up on the podcast. I watched 115 and went straight through to 116 and noticed
what?
Matt's attire hadn't changed
In 2 different podcasts.
at all. He says, I got a laugh out of it, but didn't think much of it until I began watching 117. Still, same shirt.
Really?
Exactly. So here's my
I
question.
love the consistency of that.
Are you shooting multiple episodes a day, or is Matt just that good?
that good?
Well, if we consider that good.
Consistency's great. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
but
like
you're not
integrity.
You're not intentional.
Well, no, I just
You're
pick
not
whatever
trying
the
to.
next shirt is in line. I grab it.
So it's really not your consistency. It's Misha's that she's doing the laundry.
No,
Or
I
one
have
of
to.
your-
I bring the
one of your
laundry back
maids.
from one. Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Anyway,
that's good.
Caleb says, thanks for all you do. I've been a regular since episode 50, but I've gone back and watched them all. Keep it up. Love you guys. Speaking of gone back
Oh.
and watched it all, I
He
threw
should
out
get
an
a
idea.
prize. Okay.
Well, I'm going to save the idea for just a little bit.
What is it?
Here's the. I'm going to write it down.
Tell me.
No, I've got actually
Don't let
an
me read
email
it,
in here
'cause I
that's going to
might-
trigger. Okay.
I'm looking away while
Here's
I
the
write
new
it.
bit. The new
Yes.
bit is called Matt on his own. And that when I say new bit, it means that I just thought of it right before the show
Right.
when I handed Matt a long email and said, while I sort these, why don't you read this?
one. Yes.
And so here's what we decided, team. We decided that Matt is just going to answer this question on his own.
great.
Okay,
Okay.
Matt?
Maggie, this is a follow-up email from last time. Maggie Slusher, the answer is
And I haven't read it.
nope.
I
you
know
haven't
nothing
read
about it.
No.
Maggie
you,
Slusher.
You just need to take it. You
Okay.
need to take the next job. That's the answer.
That's the answer,
Short,
Maggie.
quick, yeah.
You need to take the next
Yeah,
job.
just take it. Take it.
So all that writing, that's what you got. Take the next job.
Well, I know that I have a hard time being concise and to the point.
Yep.
And so I just thought I'd surprise you on my first one out of the gates.
Okay, now if Maggie wants to dialogue with that, because
Right.
it sounds like she's moving from one job to the next.
Yeah, well, she follows my advice, yeah.
Yeah. How would should she dialogue?
Well,
should she go to
here's-
your blog?
Well,
Not more than dirtball.com.
not more than dirtball. No, you want me to answer this one online?
Well, I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, here's a little
Didn't
bit
really
of back.
think through
Yeah,
that.
we did think through this. Matt on his own, didn't we? This is a follow-up email to what happened last week. Whereas there's 3 people in a church plant. It's a new church and a small church, and there's a youth pastor, children's, and a senior pastor. The youth pastor was leaving, and Maggie, who is the children's, was wondering, do I leave? What's going on? How do I can't remember her specific question now, so I'm gonna I don't remember. Okay. So she followed up with more information on this time, and actually what's happening is that not only is the youth pastor leaving, but since then now the senior pastor is also leaving. The church is about 100 people, so she gave us kind of a number to see what's going on. And here's one of the things that just seems really sad is not really the right word. Actually, anger is the right word. One of the members in the church who's tithing is going to stop tithing to teach the church a lesson in responsibility, which is so ridiculous to me.
Well,
and
maybe she's a big tither.
yeah, well, she's paying for 2 positions.
Oh,
so she
wow.
was paying for the children's and the students' position.
Then it really wasn't a tithe.
And right. I was trying to go quick.
That's all
What
right.
happens
No,
when I'm
no,
trying
that's
to
okay.
edit myself? I'm just
That's
I'm
okay.
no good.
I actually wasn't paying
Much of attention.
No, I'm trying to read the stuff that's going
Oh,
through.
good. You should do that.
But there really aren't questions in the live audience. They're
No,
more,
they're
they more
just more
talk to
pot,
each other.
Yeah, making pot shots, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought was what's great for Maggie's situation is that as she's going through this, she actually did get another offer to be a children's minister at another church, which is cool. Good nonverbals. But the thing that she said where it makes it tough to leave, and you didn't use these words exactly, but you said just this fear of failure in ministry. And I just think that no matter what situation we're going through, if it's really any time that there's any kind of a mistake that's made, or we get called out on something, or we get criticized, it's just so hard that ministry is so personal. It's hard not to feel like a failure. It's hard not to take it and attach your value to that. And I know this is something that we've talked about a lot of times, but I think
Like
with
how
this,
I felt when you came into my office and
Like-
said I quit.
oh gosh, I thought we decided that was off topic.
I
No,
never
just
decided
kidding.
that.
You're right. We never did. Yeah, that day I quit. You probably should have felt like a failure. That's kind of the message I was trying to send.
Yeah, well done.
I can't even
Well
do
done.
that seriously.
All right, well,
Oh,
there you go.
So
There you
anyhow,
go. That is from Maggie
yeah,
Slusher.
If
Move
it's
on.
falling apart around you and you have another option, then logically, unless you have a shining light from the Lord that says stay. I
Okay,
think
you know
it's
what I'm
time
going to do,
go.
Matt? I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to forward you this email
Yes.
so you can follow up with her.
Okay.
You mind doing that?
Nope.
Okay. All right.
That's great.
Jim Clark, our
Are you saying-
PDYM
are you-
mentor, says, I like Matt being on his own deal.
Oh, thanks, Jim. Oh, I like Jim. I know Jim.
Yeah. Jim's in the contest.
He is.
He's in the loser contest. Jim, how are you doing in that loser contest, by the way?
And are you going to shave your sideburns to lose a couple extra pounds?
Yeah, he does have.
Some man chops.
All right. This is from Josh Herndon. He says, I think the rules on cell phones is a complicated one because cell phones, for better or worse, are so integrated to every part of a student's life. Because of this, we're cautious not to brand cell phones as just a toy or a distraction because for many students, their phone is the first expensive item they've bought. It's like the new car. It's their avenue of communication to everyone they love, and it's even in a source of identity. And this is a little bit of
That's
follow-up.
interesting.
It's a little follow-up to last week.
Yes.
when we
it's a
talked
little
about-
insider because not everyone has gone back and listened to all.
Well,
of
it was just, people are struggling, youth workers are struggling. What do you do with cell phones? And what we were talking
Yeah.
about is using them as part of your teaching. And, sometimes kids are taking notes on them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Josh here is just weighing in, saying it's part of their identity.
Yeah. If it's a BlackBerry, you could take it away.
Yeah.
Those
What do
kinda
you have
suck.
against
I
BlackBerries?
they're actually really great, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
The OS is kind of hard to use.
Yeah.
You know what that stands for?
Jim Clark says the operating system is
Yep.
down 5.5 pounds.
That's great. With
Yeah.
or without sideburns? He didn't say. We should go to the next question.
He also said this is kind of cool with Doug interacting with the live show.
Oh, what about me? I mean, it's not all about
Hey,
me.
JM Greenhill, your question is in your deal here. This is from Nick Wittenhall. Nick says, do you make your volunteer staff attend your church services?
What volunteer? Do you have a volunteer staff now?
Why or why not?
Are you pausing for me to go for it?
Yeah, go.
Go. Yeah, of course. We didn't make them. I mean, we hoped that they were going, and if they weren't going to church at our church, then they wouldn't have made it into a volunteer position. I mean, that's one of the questions that we ask and wanted to make sure. The only time that I ever remember us making an exception was for the Brazel himself, where there was a period that he stopped going to Saddleback, but he actually went to kind of a Saddleback, not church plant, daughter church, but one of our friends from Saddleback staff started a church, and he was going there, and so we just kind of thought, he's in fellowship, he's connected, and that was the only time I think that we ever said.
Yeah, I can remember having some conversations with people about it'd be good for you to be a part of the
Church body.
The church body.
Yeah.
That I felt like they were so involved in the youth ministry that they weren't involved in the life of the church. And so, yeah, it is part of our requirement. It's one of the things we ask on an application.
Yep.
Good question. This is a question. Doug and Company, greetings from Ukraine.
Company.
Doug, you keep ignoring my questions at Facebook.
Ha! We should ignore this one then too.
So I decided to try a new approach. I don't think I ignore questions.
That assumes that you even really know what Facebook is.
No, dude, I have a page, Simply Doug.
Right, and your Twitters go to it. Which
My
is
Twitters
nice.
go to it, and I
Yeah.
look at it every day.
Really?
Yeah, I look at my
So
Facebook
you are
every day.
ignoring this person's.
I don't ever remember a question from him because I go back and, like, when people post a question or a question, I'll go back and comment under that one.
Right.
So it doesn't always update it at the top of the Facebook, but I'll post it under their question.
Yep.
So this is from
Mish
Oleg.
called it a face page the other day.
A face page?
It was so funny.
That's
He's
funny.
Like, yeah, I got a face page.
Oleg Magdichnik from New Life Church in Kiev, Ukraine.
Oleg is a good.
He says, so you've never been to post-Soviet countries before. Do you think that now, when you're not that super busy with the church staff,
Exactly.
it's a good time to expand your ministry and try to teach and help to grow those youth ministers who will probably never get a chance to attend your conferences?
Real quick, do you know what post-Soviet means?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you?
Yeah, I just read a book on it last year.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm reading.
I read half a book on the rise of communism.
I remember that little phase you went through.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like I don't know anything about history.
One of our live show a little bit ago asked about what the challenges are. I forget. So the problem with trying to keep track of this, Chris,
is when you see
is
one
they
you
go
like.
they go so fast. Like I was watching one, going, oh, that'd be kind of fun to answer. But then Matt was talking. I didn't want to interrupt Matt. It's Pastor O. Rob. Doug, what's been the biggest challenge or opportunity for you since leaving your Saddleback role? And I thought that maybe that kind of fits with what our buddy in post Russia, Ukraine says,
Soviet.
now that you're not that busy. Well, for some reason, I feel more busy than I was because when I worked at the church, I really didn't have to think about
you're
making a
mountain
living.
biking for 4 hours a day.
I wish. I haven't mountain biked in 2 weeks
You haven't mountain biked since you took your buddy out there and he cracked his elbow?
and broke his nose and chipped a tooth.
Oh.
How great was that?
He
No,
is
I actually
hurting.
have to make a living now. When I was employed by the church, it was like easy money.
Yeah, you just told Janet to do everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just went out to lunch with people. Now the problem is I still meet with people from Saddleback that want to meet and
Yeah.
talk about things, and I used
What
to get
kind
paid
of what
for
do
it.
people ask you when they meet with you post Saddleback?
One, somebody wanted to talk about leaving the staff and starting a church.
Yeah.
Them, not me, but that's the number one question I'm asked.
Are you going to start a church?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay.
So things like that. Josh and I met about. I'm teaching in youth ministry a bunch of times in 2010, and we
2010
talked
is what
about
we call
that.
it.
Yeah, 2010. Just just different things.
Wow.
I was in Seattle this last weekend speaking at a church, a very cool church. East Lake Church in Seattle. Very happy. Senior pastor, 30 years old. Fastest growing church in that area. They've been 5
That's
years.
awesome.
There's 3,000 people. It's very cool. He gives messages. You'd like him. He gives messages about 3 times a year where he kind of purges the church.
Awesome.
He says, I want to see it. I want to see 300 people leave every time I preach this message.
And he does it 3 times a year.
Yeah, and it's stuff like, hey, if you're coming here and you're complaining and you're not inviting people, go to another church and do that.
That is great.
He started
That
the
is
church to
great.
reach his buddies in high school. Actually, he went up to be the music guy.
At another church.
No, he was going to start the church with a friend, and he was going to go be the music guy, and
then
the
the
friend
other-
was going to be the lead pastor, and the
Right.
friend backed out at the last minute.
So he's like,
And
"Screw
he
that,
went
I'm
up
gonna
and
do it.
he went up and said, I want to start a church that my high school friends would go to, and they're pagans, and here we go.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a really sharp leader, really sharp leader.
Yeah. That's cool.
Um,
Well, he had to be smart if he had you come up.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt. And he did have me come up, and it was like, now here it is going, okay, I'm sending books from the publisher.
Yeah.
Because, half of it is an honorarium, the other half is you make your income by selling books.
Right.
They didn't arrive.
So you couldn't sell your book.
No.
Yeah.
No. So, oh well, so much for making a living. I got to
Yeah.
do better in 2010.
Yep. Maybe he's got a bookstore there.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
No, but he was very gracious. He announced
His
it
high
at the
school
end.
friends probably wouldn't want to go to a church with a bookstore.
Yeah. He announced it at the end and is going to send a link
Oh.
out. So he was very, very cool. But
Yeah.
life has been busy for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing a lot with Simply Youth Ministry. Getting
Yeah.
excited about the conference.
Nice. There's a conference coming up.
The redesign of the magazine is very exciting to
Of
me.
which magazine
Group magazine?
is being redesigned?
It has been the second time it's been redesigned in the last couple of years. There's a lot of fun
Yeah.
stuff happening.
I mean, they print
Right,
it every
Chris?
month, so why couldn't they redesign it every month?
They don't print it every month, every other month.
Oh, it's every
6
other
times
month.
a year. Yeah,
So
we got
then
a lot of
even
lot
better
of stuff
reason.
happening.
I mean, the one I read it comes every month.
Well, it doesn't
Oh,
you read something
something
else
else.
then? Teen.
That must be World of Warcraft. Teen. I read 17. I read Twilight magazine.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Andy Disher, come on, Andy. Andy
He-
Disher's going to the Simply Youth Ministry
Hey, I
conference.
finally responded to his texting to me.
He texted you?
Yeah, he was the one who did a little instant message chat that I missed.
JM Greenhill says, crap, I have to register. I keep forgetting. JM, here's my suggestion. Register soon. We're going to sell out.
We are.
Yep.
Speaking of selling out.
You
Oh.
talking about Andy moving to Colorado for more money?
Well, no, I actually wasn't going to talk about selling out. I just was my skin sold out by not repelling the heat of the barbecue this weekend. It really hurts bad.
It looks like a good
Yeah,
scar. Did you cuss?
It's good. No, I actually didn't even know I burned it till like 2 hours later because I was so focused on cooking.
Really?
Yep.
That was that's like half a pound.
Yeah, seriously, that's how I lost my.
This is from Glen Makato.
Oh, don't read the name. Just kidding.
You got me for a second. I was like, crap, because there is one in there. And look at how he does Makato.
That's good. Thanks
Yeah.
for the phonetics.
Yeah. He says he writes a couple things, but I'm going to focus on this one because I saw this being twittered about yesterday. He says, I noticed by our 40s, a lot have moved on from youth ministry. Can you still be effective and relevant? I believe in relationship building and found it to be effective at my job and coaching to make a connection with the younger generation. How about in youth ministry? Well, being in my 40s, the later part of my 40s.
Did you just correct a typo on there?
Yeah.
You're crazy.
What?
That's awesome. I mean, that's just weird. That's all.
Dude, I'm so used to looking at your stuff.
It's got typos
Hey,
all
tell
over
our
it.
team, we'll just put a
Yes.
little pause right here. Tell our team about, like, when you would send out a letter or write something for our volunteers
Oh.
and you want me to read it.
Oh yeah, I mean what happened is that after I was in for like 2 months, I put together
I'm
a
paying
postcard.
attention, but I'm going to try to.
No, it's okay.
I don't really like this
You-
because when we do this podcast, I like looking at you
Yes,
and being engaged, and now I feel
I know.
like I got to.
feel like you're engaged.
Okay.
But when I first came on, you're like, you have to do this. You have to do this postcard for mail out. And I said, hey, I'm going to the beach with some students. And you said, no, you're not. You're doing the postcard first. So I put this postcard together, and it was literally like a quarter of a page. 2 days later, you get it at your house because you're on the mailing list and you get everything. And And the day you got it, you looked at it, you were very disappointed, and actually it was good that I didn't run into you that day. It was, I think it was the first time I ever disappointed you, because I never did since then. And but I had 3 typos. I had 3 typos on a postcard that was this big. I couldn't spell just simple words. And so after that, you pretty much edited everything, almost everything that I ever wrote. And it was literally like 8 years until I gave you something that you made no marks on. And
I think I was just worn out.
No. Well, that's what I did. I came back to you. I said, "You got to be kidding me, right?" And you're like, "What?" I said, "You're really busy, right?" And you said, No. I looked at it. It's a great letter. I go, "What are you talking about? There's not a single mark on here." And I don't know, Matt. You actually had time and you read it, and it took me 8 years to come up with
People
something.
over the years that have worked with me, that's
Yes.
one of the first surprising things when they give me something to look at, how much the red pen comes out.
Yeah.
But you know what? Honestly, that's part of being edited, of all of the books I've written.
Well,
I get
if something's
edited.
written, it's important.
It
I
is
mean,
important.
it goes.
The written word is important. I tell
Yeah.
people all the time that when I get something from one of my kids' teachers or a
Yeah.
coach
Yeah.
and it's poorly written, I think less of that person. I just
Yeah.
think they're not intelligent.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, there's people on our staff that are in positions where they ought to be writing a little bit more, and they just don't think it's important.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, your email is going to go a lot further than your face.
Yeah.
And, I know you're great when you're talking one.
Well, it's
But
so much
anyhow.
perception, and youth workers need to do a better job of
Yeah.
increasing the perception. Anyway, Glen Makato says,
Yeah. What's the question here, by the way?
He says,
since we edited
I
him?
noticed that people by the time they're in their 40s, he's 43 years old from Toronto,
Yes.
and he says they move out of youth ministry. Can you still be effective and relevant? I wish
I've
you could-
never been relevant.
well, yeah, but you're not in your 40s yet.
True.
Yeah.
But I wasn't relevant when I was in high school.
Yeah, there was something on Twitter going around about one thing I read was, look at Doug Fields and Mark Ostreicher. They're in their 40s and, they're still effective. And it was talking about being hip or cool or something.
Yeah.
I thought, I haven't been cool since like 22 years old.
Yes.
And
I
even
was
then, that
never
was
cool.
just, yeah.
Yeah.
You were, well, no, you
No, I
weren't.
wasn't.
No, you
I
weren't.
really
That's
wasn't.
true.
I
I've
mean,
known
I
you
don't
since
mean
ninth
that.
grade.
I don't mean that as a joke. I mean, it's not fun. Other people find it funny. I don't really care. I mean, you got that shirt on though. It's got some vector art. I mean, it's great.
I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I was watching my wife last night at
That's good.
we were at Christmas musical stuff, and Cody, my son, who's 18, athlete, the whole bit, is in concert choir because he's senior year, doesn't have
Needed some units.
needed some arts elective, so he got about 15 guys from the football team to take this class, and it
Yeah.
was so funny. But I'm watching my wife work the crowd of her small group. She's just,
Right.
Here she is. She's mother of 3 teenagers. She's a fabulous youth worker.
Mhm.
Why? Because she connects with kids and cares about them.
Yep.
To me, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you can connect with kids and
Yeah.
care about them, you're going to be effective.
Right.
And you don't have to, I think relevance is overrated,
Okay, but let me break down. Well, I interrupted. Sorry.
That's not the
That's
first
the
time.
first time I apologize, though. Second time.
You usually apologize after the show.
True. I don't want it on tape. Do we still have tape? No, but when you said she connects with kids and she cares for them. And let me break down the connect, because I think that well, how do you connect? Don't you have to be relevant to connect? And I think what it is it's genuine interest. It's
Yeah.
authenticity. It's not knowing what radio stations or TV shows or latest Twitter feeds. I mean, that's great that Twitter pop culture. I was actually surprised. That's what you could do when you don't have a job. Follow
I
the
knew
Twitter
it
sphere.
before when I had a
Yeah,
job.
yeah. But I think that's one of the things that's so great about Kathy.
Yeah.
You
Well, it's
know.
just asking questions,
Yeah.
caring. Today at the SYM lunch, Chris, who is our, media
Tech
guru,
Makato.
stud at Simply Youth Ministry.
His email stud at Simply Youth Ministry.
No. It's I'm a loser at gmail.com, isn't it? That's one of them for our contest.
That's right. I wish.
But he was showing me this thing to do on the iPhone called Foursquare.
Yeah.
And, I didn't know anything about Foursquare. It's this thing where you go into different places and you check in and you become the mayor of different places. And
Yeah.
And,
Sounds exciting.
after a series, well, it's total techie geek stuff.
Yeah.
But after a series of about 10 questions,
Yeah.
I downloaded it on my phone, and we were talking about it the whole bit. I didn't know anything about that.
Right.
It wasn't relevant to me, but just by a few simple questions, I'm now a registered Foursquare person.
Right. And you
And-
didn't just download it to shut him up?
No, I was
Oh.
interested, but I was a little confused at lunch because you go into a place and you're supposed to check in with your iPhone, and as
Yeah.
the servers were coming, Crystal Day, every time a server came, I wanted to check back in, thinking like,
Right.
you got points when people came to you, but it's when you go to different places.
Ah,
But it's just a
sounds-
matter of asking
sounds
questions.
exciting.
Well, for those of us that are geeky,
Yes.
that are tech savvy,
Mm-hmm.
it's the kind of stuff we like to do.
That's right.
That and WoW.
Yes.
So anyway,
you played World of
Glenn,
Warcraft-
do you love Jesus? Do you love kids?
Yep.
You're effective. You're relevant, and
Totally.
I think kids are, teenagers are not looking at me going, "Oh, I bet you he's relevant." They want to
Yeah.
know, does he like me? Does he
Yeah.
care about me? Is he real?
Is he
And
real?
there's a connection there.
How fake is a person?
Um,
Hey, Dusty.
Dusty Carson writes kind of a rough one. He says, I'm the student pastor at First Baptist in Louisiana. I just had a teenager from our youth group commit suicide.
Yeeks.
I'm sorry. I am a semi-rookie in ministry, and I just don't know what to do or say to anyone. He had problems with his girlfriend. The girlfriend is part of our student ministry as well and blames herself. What should I do? I believe God has been preparing us. We've been teaching your series 1 Month to Live. We've also been
Whoa.
able to see the new movie To Save a Life. There were just some connections with the New Song Church, so it was a blessing to our kids. Our hearts are ready, just don't know what to say. Any advice would be helpful. Well, Dusty, whether you're a semi-rookie or a veteran, suicide rocks a youth ministry.
Yeah, you don't.
Would you straighten out that card, man?
I'm allowed to touch the card? Or just not the phone?
I was just kind of hoping you'd
I
fall
know.
for it and touch the phone and I'd
Totally.
get the card.
Yeah.
I thought if I did in the middle of this type of deep
Right.
question,
You thought you could get me off my game.
tried to, but you're a rock.
I know.
This is the show.
This is the greatest show ever.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bummed you took away this little piece of plastic. That was my main.
Thing to doodle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I got to play with my fingers.
Dusty, if a suicide happened in our youth ministry right now, I would be rocked as well. You never really, I think, in crisis, you never really know what to do. Or you second guess everything.
Yeah.
We've said on the show before that it's about presence and be there. And it's okay for you to say to the family, I wish I knew what to say. I would talk about what you loved about the boy, how much you appreciated him. Just be there for the family. This last weekend, I was in Seattle, and I met up with a friend, and I remember when her dad died, I didn't know what to say, and I just showed up at the house, and she's still talking. I mean, this was like 7-8 years ago, and she still talks about, remember you just sat on the couch, and I just sat on the couch with her, and there's a bunch of people in the room. The people who were there for kind of the mother, and not for my friend, and I really didn't know what to say, and we just kind of sat there and hung out, and your presence is real important. Obviously, the girlfriend that's part of student ministry, she can't blame herself, although she will. She just needs to make sure there are other women in your ministry who are around her. Yeah. And it does sound like maybe God was, leading you to begin to think about death in your ministry. And I think it's something, we did a series called Untouchables, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things was talking about death. Death is kind of a rough thing to talk about, especially with teenagers. You think you're invincible.
Yeah.
But Dusty, I would say go with your gut. Just be there, even when you think, any movement towards care is remembered.
So what would be some things to avoid? I mean, just, you don't know Dusty, obviously. He's got
Yeah.
a brain and has a heart to be sensitive.
Yeah.
But what are some things on the out, just to cover your bases, what are some things not to do?
Well, I would think of more what to do. That's where my mind
Yeah.
goes to. So, but maybe
Am I throwing you off a little bit?
well, I would say, for me, I'd obviously show up at the house,
Yeah.
and I'd
Yeah.
bring over food. I would
Practical
depending on
little
what the
things,
family
yeah.
is going through. I wouldn't do. Somebody just said Doug isn't really looking at it all that much. I know. That's
You're
true.
not
It's
looking.
hard to look at this. At
It
the same
is.
time
You're
and
too
be-
unfocused. Well, because you, I don't want to admit this. We're not recording, I think. But, I mean, you carry it. So,
Carry what?
The show.
Well, I can't believe you said that.
I know. I think we're going to have to edit that part. You said it had to be filtered. So I can't believe I just went unfiltered there. No,
Yeah.
here's what I'd say. I'll add to that just a tiny bit
'Kay.
and say, forgetting the family for a sec, not forgetting the family, but not focusing on the family, focusing on your ministry for a second. I don't think it's something that you want to avoid and not talk about at all. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think you would do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to address it in front of your youth ministry a little bit. I mean, not to dwell on it a lot, but you gotta at least say, hey, be praying. You gotta just say this is tough. I mean, you gotta bring it up and be honest and open it up. I think when I think of the thing that you really don't want to do as you're talking to them and the family is to be trite and to have platitudes and to, here's a verse. That's the fixing. That's what you want to avoid.
Presence.
I don't think that you would do that, Dusty. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't even seem like you would, but based on your...
Well, and also, Dusty, if this boy had brothers or sisters, I might show up
Yeah.
with something, some food for the brother or sister. Hey, I just swung this by. I know there's, I was thinking about,
Yeah.
if there's a little kid and you knew he played some video game, you buy a new little video game for him, and I know there's gonna be crazy times, and I just thought, we'd show up at the youth group, have the youth group do something, sign a card.
Yeah.
All that stuff means something in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Well,
and one of the things you like to do too is you'll add something to your calendar,
Yeah.
and in 6 months, I think we
Yeah.
talked about that last podcast maybe, or at holidays and stuff. In fact, we had somebody on staff who their spouse passed away,
Yeah.
and that's the sort of thing that you
Yep.
do.
Matt, just looking at this,
Yep.
the live audience,
Yeah.
SN Perry says,
Yep.
wait, are you saying don't use scripture to console, Matt?
Is that what I said?
No, you said don't show up with platitudes.
Yeah. Don't just try and fix it and be trite. I think
Yeah.
you started with the word trite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It doesn't mean you wouldn't.
no.
You
In fact, I actually have had ideas and wanted to put together a tool that's like, hey, here's some scriptures to look through
Yeah.
and stuff. And Rutenbar, that's one of the things he's got. He's got like 8 or 9 verses printed out on cards that when he goes with family, sometimes he'll just leave those there for them to look at it.
Yeah.
So yeah, buddy, give me a break.
Don't get you
Well,
can
I'm
sound
just-
overly pious and not meet the person where they're at.
Exactly.
That's what the
Overly
person is saying.
pious is nice.
If the person goes to the verse, Matt Murphy says he affirms it. It's just moving too fast for me.
Yeah,
It's a small little screen.
Yeah, and you're getting blind.
Well,
Hey, what about cancer update? That should be a bit. Every week we should have cancer update with Doug.
That's funny. That got Chris to laugh. Okay, I'll mention that. Not more than Dirtball. So Matt on his own
And
and
cancer
Doug's
update.
cancer update.
So you had a face peel.
I
Is
had
this-
a
can't remember
face
if this-
burn.
You talked about it last time.
I'm
right?
going back tomorrow. Tomorrow I
Okay.
go back to the dermatologist to see if they got everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's the process? First, they inject the Botox, and then
Dude.
what?
No, they scrub my face with some
Yeah.
type of acid, put some paste on it, and then
Let it
burned
sit.
it for 15 minutes,
Like let the paste sit on there.
for an hour.
They should have got that heat lamp that you used when you were in eighth
That
grade.
basically was.
That was an insider story too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is Pastor John in Iowa, and he signs frustrated.
Oh.
I'm a youth pastor here in snowy Iowa, and I'm a bit frustrated. Fit to be tied, more like it. Here's my question. How do you get them to keep showing up week after week? School activities seem to take precedent over everything. I know there's nothing new to youth ministry, but I'm sick of it. Or I know this is nothing new to youth ministry. This is a spiritual issue, is it not? Not mine, theirs. The straw to break the camel's back, last night I passed out the 2010 first quarter calendar, and my students already had school activities that conflict with that I've planned for the new year. I felt tempted to hand in my letter of resignation, but I'm not. Frustrated John.
In Iowa.
Gosh, that is tough. Here's the deal. To be less frustrated, kids aren't going to show up every week. It's just not reality. I mean, I've got 3 teenagers, and actually Tori's not a teenager anymore,
No.
just turning 21.
Yeah, she's
Got to stop saying 3 teenagers. But I have a
she's an
senior
adult.
and a freshman, and there are just some things. Cody in this class right now, this concert choir deal, he's got to be concert choir Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Every night. So
Yeah.
last night he missed small group. That's
Yeah.
just going to happen. It's just part of
Yeah.
the rhythm of people's lives, and it's sometimes more of a family issue than a youth ministry issue, because families allow their kids to be so
Involved with
so
stuff.
busy. But it's just I used to think the same thing. I think prior to having teenagers, and there are just some times where there are times where we've said, based on grades or whatever, hey, you know what, you need to stay home from small group tonight.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, Kathy actually made a comment about that a couple weeks ago. I don't know what we were at. Maybe we were on podcast or something. But
Okay.
she had said that, man, now that I have teenagers, I can understand why kids sometimes don't show up to small group.
Yeah.
And it doesn't frustrate me as much.
Yeah.
Which what I thought was odd is I wasn't sure she actually got frustrated.
Yeah, every once in a while.
Yeah.
But when I read this, I was impressed that Pastor John already had his first quarter calendar out. That's more than Josh has. I'm on Josh's volunteer team, and I haven't seen the first quarter calendar.
Did you fill out an application?
No, I really haven't. Have you?
Yeah. I'm not on the volunteer team.
Oh yeah, that's right.
No, you actually did fill out an application.
Yeah, every year. But one of the things I'm thinking about with this is maybe before you release the first
Yeah.
quarter calendar, you find out, every year what we're doing is finding out what the school events are.
Right.
So if we're
Right.
ever planning something on a Friday night, we have the school calendar and kind of
Yeah.
know ahead of time, boy, this wouldn't be a good night to do that. And I don't want to assume that John did that. Maybe he did.
And this actually isn't that early to have a calendar. I mean, it is December.
No,
To have
no.
a count. I mean, he could be a little bit earlier next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
nice.
You just about this time you want to make sure your folks, the parents, have the summer dates, because there's nothing
Yeah.
that ticks off a family more than they plan their summer vacation, and then all of a sudden in March or
Yeah.
April the youth ministry says, here's summer camp, and it's the same week, and
Yep.
you've just created chaos in a family
Yep.
by not having that. John, your kids aren't going to show up every single week.
Yep.
They're not all of them are going to walk with Christ. When Jesus talked about the parable of the seeds, 75% of that seed doesn't bear fruit. And, I think there's some parallels there with attendance. I think there's obviously there's parallel with spiritual growth, because that's what the
Yeah,
intention of the parable was.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's tough, and you have every right to feel frustrated. When you say, I mean, I think we've kind of talked about this, and so we'll go the impersonal route and say, when you say, is this a spiritual issue? I think it is, and it's not mine. I mean, I think you need to look at that a little bit. I mean, I'm not saying it's your spiritual issue, that's for sure. I mean, that's between you and God, but it could just be busy calendars. Busy calendars and commitments at school is not necessarily a spiritual issue.
Yeah.
So there you have it.
But we've all been frustrated, John, with attendance and lack of attendance, and you put your heart into a program and kids don't show. We've all been there. You're not alone, and it is frustrating. And one of the highest rated, I think, articles that I wrote for Simply Youth Ministry a couple
Yeah.
years ago is,
I didn't even know you wrote articles.
oh yeah,
Oh.
you got to get on our email list sometime.
I should.
Something about, it was like, I resigned again this week.
Oh,
It
that
was
was
just
the one.
kind of
yeah.
the idea of, man, I feel like it all the time. Hey, Chris, I just looked at the clock and I thought, my gosh, we've gone an hour, but I realized that the clock never moved, because
It's broken.
I don't know, but I don't know how long we've been on the show, but I was going based on that clock thinking,
Do you want me to look at my clock? Oh,
oh, you so close,
Ah.
almost touched that.
wait a minute. I don't get anything if I succeed.
The
That
joy of
is a
knowing that you have
drag.
mental
Oh
toughness.
man.
Because I'm
I
already
neg-
kind of hurt by your lack
I
of mental toughness.
negotiate. What?
I'm hurt by your lack of mental toughness
On what?
on the weight
not
thing.
not exercising more.
Well, just that I was really hoping you'd beat Josh, but I have a feeling Josh is going to...
I gotta live up to my own expectations.
I know, well, there's a first. Matt Johnson writes, I'm in my 4th year in youth ministry. I'm getting ready to begin
cool.
my first student leadership program in January. I'm planning on working through Help, I'm a Student Leader, with the hopes of their first big ministry event to really participate in being in March 30-hour famine. What other kinds of resources would be good to utilize, and what kind of advice would you give to someone in my position? And he's writing from Titusville, Pennsylvania. Man, this sounds self-promoting, but I think Help, I'm a Student Leader is a good book to have kids work through. I actually just got a recent edition. It's still on my kitchen counter. That means it came in the last couple of days of a new edition.
Days or months?
No, days. But every time I get a new edition of Help, I'm a Student Leader, I'm just always amazed
that people buy that thing?
No, just how fast it sells. I mean,
well, they only print like 100 at a time,
no,
right?
this one, Matt, this has got like 60,000 copies. That's a lot for a book for kids.
Now, is it a book or like a thick pamphlet?
No, it's a legit book.
It's a book.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wish you would have read it when I was...
That was the one book I failed you on. Dang it. I knew there was something about that book. That was bad.
Yeah, it
Let's not
the
talk
one
about
book. Yeah.
it
was one
was.
book maybe that month.
That you talked about. Maybe the other ones you just held it in.
Maybe.
You were a turtle.
Maybe. No, that's an insider story. Matt and I went away. He was gonna like... Matt, for many of my books, was like my final read-through.
Many?
Yeah, I've been done
Now
all
these
of them.
days, you're right.
Yeah, it was one of my final read-throughs, and he kind of argues with me and pushes back, and is always a great friend in that moment.
I don't argue. I gently suggest
Yeah,
options.
it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
How many writers would dream of having a Matt McGill in their life that would read their stuff and go, this
How
doesn't
many
make
humans dream about that?
I
Not a
don't
joke.
know. Yeah,
Just kidding.
I don't know.
Yeah, so we go down, but it's
So
like
we go down to Leucadia, which is about 50 miles south. Chris, have you heard this story?
Yeah.
And we're going away for the weekend, and I'm going to finish the book. And as I finish the last couple chapters, Matt's going to read through it. And the whole weekend, he was checking email and jacking around and doing stuff. And basically,
But
I
not
said, Matt,
jacking around. I was preoccupied
I said, Matt,
with
forget
the
it.
team I was
Forget it.
leading.
Forget it. It's done. You don't need to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why the book sells so well.
It's one of the few that I haven't. Yeah.
That's true. One of the few that sells well.
Yeah.
But
no, one of the few
here's
I
the
haven't
deal.
screwed with.
Is when kids read that, it's obviously written to our own student leaders. It gives them bite-sized nuggets. I get more feedback from kids on that book.
Yeah.
Have them read through it, maybe a chapter a week, something like that. Write in questions.
Yeah.
The 30-hour famine, I would say have them pull that off, not just attend it, because that in March 30th, Matt Johnson.
Yes.
That
Very confusing.
30-hour famine could be
MJ.
something they could lead,
Yeah.
not just attend. I think you have everybody in your youth ministry attend that.
Yeah.
It says, what kind of other resources would be good to utilize? What kind of advice would you give to someone in my position? I would, here's my quick little snippet on student leadership, is you set the bar high, you require high, and you reward them high. High requirement, high reward. So they read through Help, I'm a Student Leader, and then it is an invitation to your house to talk about it. You're not opening up to the whole youth group, just the student leaders. There's a reward there. You're doing a barbecue. You're making your student leadership meeting fun. Maybe there's another book that you read that you think this would be great to take our student leaders from. Whether it's The Cost of Discipleship from Bonhoeffer or it is a youth ministry book. Challenge them to read it, talk about it, and have some reward tied into that where they feel like, boy, I really am. I'm not just part of a book club. I'm part of a team that cares, a team that is put into ministry.
You want to invest in them without it becoming a clique, and that's the high reward is great. It is great that they have time with you and that you're investing in them, and you need to be investing in the leaders in your ministry. I mean, that's very, very important. If you don't have any other leaders in your ministry, it will never grow very big, either grow out or grow deep, however you both ways that you look at that. I would suggest in this, as you're going through and you're putting together your student leadership, one thing that we've talked about before is really in the beginning, really define what you want your student leadership to be about. I mean, we're not fans, and by we, I mean you, and then I've adopted this, is that we're not fans of the cute, fun, and popular, the ones that maybe the capital L leader that are charismatic and
Well, the
and
ones that
people-
are kind of voted in
Yeah.
or think because they want to make the activities
Right.
calendar that they're in.
that they're necessarily leaders. And so we would say that they're really involved and busy and dedicated and committed. But for us, leadership was always about who's going to serve and who is serving, who will serve in a ministry, not just a one-time event, which this is a cool, great thing, but ongoing. Who's serving? And those are the ones that we're going to invest in. Those are the ones that we're going to say you're a leader. And so,
Yeah.
so I think that.
A couple
What'd you
people in the
write?
live show have asked about the Student Leadership Conference that's been at Saddleback the last 4 years. And right now, I want to make sure that Jan is involved in this, but I think because of all the changes that are going on with me and Saddleback, and we're maybe putting that on hold this year.
That's got to hurt a little bit.
It hurts me a lot,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, that's on hold. We'll let you know more about that ASAP. Also, Billy Goat 56 says, where do you write questions to? It's
what?
sympodcast@gmail.com.
That's why.
Then I saw somebody in the SN Perry says, one reason to not have Doug moderate, it leaves people cutting and pasting questions in more and more. Are you seeing that too, Chris?
Yeah.
Like as soon as I look at the screen, yeah. The problem is it's a delay. So by the time I look at the screen, that
So they
thing
really
is
have to
already
have precognition to put it in there for you to see it.
knowing when you're going to
Yeah.
talk. I'm going
Right.
to have a little bit of time
Yeah, yeah.
to look. I'm not sure this.
It doesn't. Not for you.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Jana. She can do two things at once.
No, it's not just a matter of doing two things. It's like, there's a lot of like, hi, Doug. That's from Peter Zog. And
Yeah.
Billy Goat 56 is Doug's buff, which I appreciate that.
Yeah. You.
They're
have often been
just
attracted to
talking.
lies.
They're just talking to each other
Right.
a lot.
Yeah.
So it's different, right, Chris?
Yeah, we need to find a good way to feed you live chat stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Hey, you know what? It's good to experiment too.
We should use Google Wave.
Yeah.
Why don't we use Google Wave?
We like Doug Life though, it says.
Yeah.
We
Well,
just tweet him.
This is really boring for the audience.
I
That's-
know
that's-
who's
yeah.
audience. We lost him already.
Yep.
Although this isn't as good without Jana and
It's not.
and Josh.
No, I think it's the greatest podcast we've ever done. In fact, I'd like to call this podcast number one. All
Number
the other
one.
ones were practice.
Hey, where are we on time? Do I have time for one more? Or are we done?
If you keep it to like 3 minutes or less.
Whoa. So you don't record straight to the computer. I can never understand this. Never mind. I'm eating time. Yep.
Matt, that's one of the things. It
Yeah.
doesn't
'Cause
always
he's-
have to be your way.
Well, right, but he could be capturing on the fly, I think. I mean, it is a Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
love
maybe he doesn't know how
I think he knows more than you do.
about computers.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
He listens to tech shows.
Right.
He plays Foursquare.
Well, if you know stuff, you don't have to listen to it.
Okay. Let's see.
This totally killed your energy.
Mark
Yeah.
Cox, this is a great one. I love it when Doug says, Matt, with his disappointed tone.
Oh,
Another
you hear
person says,
disappointment. I
touch
hear
the
a
phone,
mountain.
Matt. Touch the phone.
Oh, look at that. Yeep. No way, dude. I'm
Pastor
tough.
Sean says, Chris, I think you do great. Chris is the man.
He
Touch
does.
the phone, Matt.
Chris does do great.
Chris, phone, Matt's iPhone. Touch the phone.
It's just great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's shiny.
I feel bad for the people that are listening to this not live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because they don't know what.
Yeah, they don't really
You
see
know what?
the text.
Here's what I was going to tell you. Let's end with
Oh,
this.
okay.
Let's end with this. I have a book idea
Uh-huh.
for the podcast,
Okay.
and it would be just some of our answers,
Okay.
but it's an interactive book.
Yeah.
We like put the names of every person who's listened to the podcast from 0 like
Right.
team members in there. We could get Andy. We could put some ads in it,
Yeah. Yeah.
so Andy would feel like it was
Yeah.
being paid
Right.
for.
Right.
But we have like
Sell their
I
soul.
see one page of like there's a photo of Natalie with a cross through it, X'd
Right.
out. Then Jana with a light cross because after her fourth kid, who knows?
Right.
Then like a guess the next female person.
Brazel.
We could
Sorry.
But just this highly interactive podcast book. We could have photos
Yeah.
of the Biggest Loser winners in there. We could bring back some of the sarcastic monkey people.
Yes. I don't think they listen anymore.
No, they probably listen. They just don't.
Comment.
They don't comment like they used to. But we
Yeah.
could bring some of that in, some of the history of the podcast,
Like a
some
yearbook.
blooper moments, almost like a yearbook.
Like the yearbook.
Yeah. And I don't know if we do a PDF so it doesn't cost and people have to download, or if we
Yeah.
actually do a book where
Yep, yeah.
you get obviously we have to
Yep.
put a cost to it if we do that. But
Since Doug just retired from Saddleback, we put together a yearbook of everything from the last 15 years, every staff person, and
Yep.
some stories and stats, and it was very, very cool. And
It's very cool.
so,
Yeah, it would be that type of thing, but it would be like almost an insider guide to the podcast
Yeah.
where our team would feel like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
bits that failed,
right.
like the
Will-
way bit, will it burn, stealing stuff from each other's house, Matt
Trying-
on his own.
Matt on his own.
All right, you guys, getting the sign from Chris that it's time
Am
to
I allowed
go.
to touch my phone?
Not until it's officially over, which means till the live show's
Even the
done.
live
the
show
live
is
show.
done.
So we're going to end the tape show.
And just do the pod.
And
okay.
so to our team members, if we don't get to do a show next week on Christmas Eve, which I doubt we will because Chris won't be here.
yeah. Well, I'll do it then.
We'll see you.
We'll capture it live.
Capture it live. You want to
Yeah.
try it? You want to do another just you and me?
It'd be great. We'll just capture it live on like a little laptop cam. We're like real close.
We should
That
have
would be
do a
awesome.
show that is just like a Matt Renegade show.
That would be great.
You want to do it? You want to do it at your house?
We could.
Your house is freezing though. I hate going to your house.
And there's so many kids at my house.
Your house is always so cold.
Yeah. Well, that's the way.
So no,
supposed
it's
to
your
be.
house.
Yeah.
You do it whatever you want.
what Jesus
Okay,
likes it.
let's say goodbye.
Manger.